Well, the cross is tapped home, and it's the skipper, George Thompson. It's absolutely wonderful from Scott Fraser.
After a challenging festive season, the transfer window is now in full force with January, of course, and the Addicts have made 2 swoops to re-bolster the squad. And although those players can't be involved in today's fixture, Charlton fans out there will be hoping that they can inject some much-needed energy into first-team proceedings soon. Today, though, Michael Appleton's team are back out on the road, where we did see a slight upturn in fortunes before defeats to Leyton Orient and Bristol Rovers in recent weeks. And today, Charlton travel to Port Vale, taking on a team that is sitting just 1 place below them in the table. Andy Crosby's side have been in mixed form of late, including impressive wins against Blackpool and Wigan Athletic. But they lost to Carlisle United last time out. With less than 45 minutes until kick-off, let's take a look at what we've got coming up on today's show. We'll hear from Michael Appleton, who spoke to CharltonTV ahead of today's game. We've got interviews with the latest Addicts, Lewis Fiorini and Tyreeq Bakinson. And we'll hear from Andy Scott on what is coming next in a busy transfer window. A warm welcome to all you Addicts fans joining us from around the world. And for international fans outside of the UK, don't forget you can purchase your match streaming pass for just £10 for all the action at Vale Park today. It's a pleasure for me to be alongside 2 Charlton legends once again in the studio. Steve Brown and Alan Curbishley, thank you so much for joining us.
How are you, James? All right?
Yeah, very, very good. As I said, it's great to be back here, gentlemen. And Brownie, January has started. The transfer window is going to be an important time for us, I think, the way the season's gone so far.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've sort of spoken about that over the last few weeks about, you know, it's not easy to do business in January and, you know, but we are going to do some. We've got to. So we've seen 2 come in already and I'm sure that's nowhere near the end of business as we see it.
Curbs, 2 players in. They've come in into the engine room of the team, central midfield. What do you make of that?
I was a little bit surprised, actually, you know, but obviously Michael must have some other options that he'd like to bring in, because there's other areas that I think need strengthening. But he's obviously felt that the midfield is a bit of a problem to do this so quickly, and 2 players in. And it'd be interesting to see how the other midfield players react, because, you know, they've got a game today. You're asking players to play there, knowing your manager have brought 2 players in. It's unfortunate if you were going to bring them in, they ain't gone straight into the side.
Yeah, Brownie, even though they can't be involved today in the fixture, the new players, they've had 1 training session with the squad, I understand. Yeah. Does that do something for the other boys?
Well, it can have, I guess it can have an impact both ways, but I'm with Curbs. If, you know, if they've been brought in, you've got to assume they're going to get into the side. And if they're going to get into the side, the players playing today might just have a little bit of a like, well, you know, what's going on here? But it is what it is. A squad's a squad, and it rotates over a season, and the summer comes and goes, and players come in. It's no different. It's just the dynamic is that you know, whatever's happening, you know, there's a pride in the individual, right? Because we're not in a good spot. We aren't getting the results we need, and actually, whatever's happening externally and whoever's coming in, going out, you've got to focus on you as an individual, because this team needs to get a result.
Was you a little bit surprised it was midfield players that have come in?
Yeah, because it would suggest there's business there to be done with the ones that we still got. That's my guess, but it is an assumption, and based on that we brought 2 midfielders in. I mean, there's a familiarity to obviously Fiorini, because he's been at Lincoln and Blackpool with Michael, and so he likes working with him, it looks like, and Bakinson's had a lot of League One clubs and got promoted out of League One. So, and my understanding is I think he's got 6 months left. So there's a look for us there, isn't there? There's a free look almost. If you know, if he likes the look of Charlton and he likes the feel of the club over the next 6 months, gets to play, he might buy into next season if that's an option.
So, Gerbs, as a manager, for yourself personally, do you think that Michael Appleton's looking for these players to galvanise the squad, or maybe he's looking to put a few noses out of joint?
I think there's a couple of things, yeah. I think that, firstly, we've got a couple of players there that you know, like Dobbo's out of contract. Fraser, who's been in and out, but a big signing. So, you know, as people come in, because, as Brownie just mentioned, there might be a bit of movement, who knows. But we've moved quickly, that's for sure. And it must be that he's been unhappy with the midfield, and he's brought someone in who he knows, and he knows what he's going to get from him. I think myself and most fans would be thinking he might have gone in different areas, but perhaps that's to come. Because I've said it for the last couple of weeks, I'm concerned up top at the moment with Miles and Chuck's out, and it looks like for some time. Alfie May with his back problem. You know, you can't make a promotion push or a playoff push or whatever we're looking to do without your strikers, and so that's a bit of a worry at the moment.
Brownie, tough fixture today away at Port Vale. Our away form hasn't been good. What do you want to see from the performance more than anything, I guess?
I mean, we're putting ourselves under pressure, aren't we, in terms of the results that we've had over the last weeks. I thought the performance was better against Oxford, but I am one that's sort of looking at it going, the performance isn't that important to me. Results have suddenly become of paramount importance because of where we've suddenly found ourselves in the league, and I don't think it's necessarily we're looking over our shoulder at this moment in time, but I'd like a win or two to come from somewhere, so that it just took the pressure off everybody, relaxed everybody a little bit, because the more we go without winning, the more you get the rumblings and the more people are upset, and that's understandable with the results we've had, but you don't want these players to become really pressurised, a real cooker pressure atmosphere.
Well, I think throughout the Christmas period we've been looking at getting the results so that we can start threatening that.
Yeah.
But the way the results are gone, as Brownie just mentioned there, we're looking over our shoulders a little bit. So we desperately need something today just to steady the ship a little bit. Because if we don't, I think Port Vale can go above us. That's another drop down, and you know, looking over our shoulder again. So you know, you don't need that. You don't need that added pressure. So a result today is a must, I think.
Well, gentlemen, hopefully the first positive result can come today at Vale Park, where we're going to head to now to speak with the gaffer, Michael Appleton, who spoke to Charlton TV a little earlier.
Michael, we're here at Port Vale. You've made one change to the starting lineup and one on the bench. Do you want to talk us through those?
Chem Campbell's injured. He rolled his ankle last week or on Monday against Oxford. So, yeah, unfortunately didn't make the game today. So obviously Louis coming in that midfield area, and you know, it's an opportunity for him to showcase his skills.
We discussed in the press conference about the importance of that midfield battle, given that Port Vale do score a lot of goals from that area. Is that going to be a real key this afternoon?
I think it is. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you're right. I mean, obviously, it plays up top, gives them a real base and a platform to play from. And once he does that, he brings those midfield players into play. So, if that happens, when that happens, we've got to be ready for it.
You're also in good spirits in the presser, and that's not least because we've had two new arrivals, with Lewis Fiorini and Tyreeq Bakinson coming in. Has that given the whole squad a lift?
I think it has, yeah. Obviously, you know, they were around it yesterday, and it was good to see. And I think from our point of view, it's a start. It's definitely a start. You could tell that, you know, everyone around the football club, not just the players, you know, had that little bit of extra sort of oomph in their step, and there was an energy to the place yesterday that, you know, probably has been hard to find over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and our away form generally this season hasn't been fantastic, so it'd be great to reward the 500 or so Charlton fans who have come north for the journey to send them home with a win.
Yeah, and that's the idea. Look, you know, we want to give it another spirited performance like we did last week. I thought we were excellent for a long period of the game, and obviously got done by a wonderful goal. But I think today, you know, there's an opportunity for us to try and sort of change our fortunes, try and get that win, that elusive win they've been looking for. And if we can do that with the support and backing they got today, then obviously they'll, you know, head back down south in a happy mood.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. Good luck. Cheers.
Great to hear from Michael Appleton there, and here is confirmation of his starting 11 for Charlton Athletic at Port Vale today. As he mentioned there, gents, one change, Louis Watson coming in for the injured Chem Campbell. Curbs, would you have maybe expected to see a couple of more fresh faces in with regards to the run we've been on?
Well, I don't know how much he can change it really at the moment. It's an interesting one, Louis Watson, because he's given him a game Fraser obviously ain't 100%, I suppose, you know, fitness-wise, but he's giving Louis a game, and on the back of bringing in 2 midfield players, you know. But I think a lot of fans have been asking why Louis hasn't been playing, so there's an opportunity for him today. Yeah, I mean, I thought when Tyreeq Campbell came on, he gave us a bit more down that right-hand side. So once again, I think we're relying on that front three. Can we keep a clean sheet? Brownie's more concerned about clean sheets. I'm more concerned about where the goals are coming from, to be honest. Without the 3 forwards that we've been talking about, you know, Miles, Chucks and Alfie May. So, yeah, I think that we're going to need to score today to get anything.
Brownie, looking at that, possibly we could be wondering where the goals are coming from. Who do you want to step up and fill that void that's been left by the injured Alfie May?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like anybody in that front 3 to score us a goal or 2 today, to be honest with you. Blackett-Taylor's had a good season in terms of goals and assists, but, you know, Carney burst onto the scene and scored a couple of goals, and he worked hard last week, you know, without any rewards. I'd like to see him get an opportunity and score for his own, you know, confidence. And I thought Tyreeq actually performed well last week on that right-hand side. What Tyreeq needs to do is find a level of consistency. Just get some confidence back, believe in his performance, and back up last week's decent performance with another one today. You know, I think it's an interesting one because we make 1 change, they've made 3, and they're missing a big player. Garrity's out, who's their top scorer. But two of the three goals that they scored here, that Chislett and Wilson are both playing in that sort of behind the striker role again today. But yeah, Garrett is the one that I thought was going to be a big threat, and he's missed out. So that's a bonus for us, I think.
Curbs, you mentioned that Brownie's concerned with keeping clean sheets, and it is the foundation of any winning team, right? I think we've only kept 3 clean sheets in the league in 24 games. It's the same personnel amongst the back 4. What would you have done with them this week to ensure that they're a bit more solid?
There's not a lot you can do, is there? Because they're playing every other day. Right. You know, that's the way it is at the moment. I think it's a mentality thing. You know, when you're defending, is it? We had certain rules when we was defending. You know, if a fullback's getting run at, we showed inside. The rest of the team knew that we were showing inside. The midfield players knew that was happening. Centre halves knew that was happening. I just think it looks a little bit at the moment when we're being attacked that is everyone's on their own a little bit.
Yeah, they don't seem to be a unit of 4.
No, some of the goals we're letting, especially that one, the quick free kick the other night. Yeah. You know, in the 95th minute. There was no urgency, defensive urgency I'm on about. There was no one pointing. You know, you're drawing 1-1 away from home, 95th minute, and you've got a free kick on the edge of the box, and then they play it quickly, and someone's in and crosses it to someone unmarked. You know, So I think Michael, there's 2 things, isn't it, at the moment? Is firstly we don't look as if we can keep a clean sheet, which we've been talking about, and yeah, you're looking at where's the goals coming from without Alfie May about.
I think I can sort of speak for what we used to do. There'd be at least, whatever the distance between games was, there would be at least 1 or 2 sessions that we would do defensively as a group. And it's like I know you're naturally leaning towards the back 4 and the goalkeeper as to why we're not keeping clean sheets, but at times they've been put under so much pressure from. You know, we haven't been really as solid as I think we could be in front of that as well. So they've come under pressure from a midfield at times that's been too easy to play through. They've also got to split and try and play out at times, and we give the ball away and we get caught. But whatever the circumstances are, you know, whether it's that, you work on it. And the problem there is no way Michael and his staff aren't working on it. They are. It then comes down to the decision-making processes on the day, and that's what's got to tidy up for me within this group. You know, we've even had good performances. Like I've looked at it and gone, that's a good defensive performance. But we've done something in it as an individual that's cost us a goal. And there's not a lot you can do once you've done your work and you've sat on the sideline.
I think we mentioned the other night, the last 3 games, we dropped 4 points in 90-odd minutes. You know, I didn't see the Burton game, but they've got a goal in the 90-odd minute. The one at Oxford the other night. Yeah. You know, so that's 3 or 4 points that have been dropped in the 90-odd minutes.
Yeah, I believe we conceded 6 goals in the last 6 games beyond the 80th minute as well.
Well, yeah, and so I think at least 4 points. I don't know where that takes us. And the other thing we was talking about the other day is I can't remember us scoring from a set play. I really can't remember us looking threatening from a corner. So that'll be another side of the game, especially when you're away from home and you manage to get a set play. Try and make it pay, but we don't seem to get anyone. The delivery, is that good enough? Is anyone attacking it? Is anyone following that one up? If it's cleared and returned back in the box, are we on the move? All things like that, you know. So yeah, it's extraordinary. We've gone half a season without scoring from a set play.
Yeah. I mean, if I said to you when was the last clean sheet in the league?
Yeah. No one could name it, I'm pretty sure.
I can, because it's of importance to me, but doing my work here. But it was Reading. It's like the 20th of October or something like that. You know, and that, if you've got any design to be pushing yourself towards the top end, that's like 3 months or whatever. You know, it's 2.5 months. You just can't do that. So that's an area that has to be improved on. You know, I get the goal scoring while we're struggling there, because there's no set pattern to that front line.
Yeah.
It's got injury issues, etc. But the back line has been relatively settled, yeah.
In modern football, though, Brownie, how do you balance? There's this whole idea of pressing the other team now, isn't there? And I understand even today, Port Vale may play out from the back. How do we balance not over pressing and then leaving those gaps behind?
Well, I mean, there's work you can do on a training ground which gives you a confidence to go and do it on a Saturday. The problem is, it's like when you hear a boxer say, "Oh, is it Tyson?" when he says they've all got a plan until I hit them. And it's the same.
I like that one.
You know, they've all got a game plan until they hit them, and then it goes out the window. And it's the same when you're with pressing or anything in football. There's a tactic you'll have. You'll identify weaknesses in your position. It might be individual, it might be as a team, right? But when the game kicks off, if they start to get on top of you in that first 15 minutes, the game plan's out the window a little bit, because they're doing something to you that has surprised you, that's got them the dominance.
What we did, if a team, I know it was a different era, different way of playing football, you know, dispossession based and etc. playing out from the back. But if we was under pressure and the team managed to get over the halfway line, then that's when it all switched on. You know, that's when everyone knew we're showing inside as much as we can. So recovery runs knew that. And when it got to the edge of the box, we just held the edge of the box. And if people wanted to run past us, we'd be sticking our hand up. You know, so there's a couple of things that was inbred in our sides that worked very well for us. Now, I know it's a different game at the moment. And,
well, it isn't, right? Because you showed that Arsenal goal, Klaus Jensen's chip. There's a press there. There's a calculated press by something that's set up.
Yeah.
I think they used to just call it closing down back then, though, right?
But this is an interesting point you make, because people get lost in the modern day language, and actually it's been there all the time, but it goes through fads and circles. Yes, the game's different. It is different than it was, but all those things were there. You know, that was a brilliant calculated press by 4 players, midfield and front, that won the ball back off of Vieira or whoever, and the goal's exquisite. But it's always been there, right? But you've got to trust, and I think there's an issue here for us this season, is that we just haven't had a settled side for long enough that's been able to establish momentum and togetherness to go on and get result after result.
It's interesting what you just said there, because, you know, stop the cross. What's the language now that they would say? Stop the cross. Is that a low block? I don't know. Stop the cross. Right? Yeah. Track your man. Get the right side of him. You know, all dinosaur stuff.
It's all the same idea and the same ethos, isn't it, really?
And put your body on the line.
The important bit of all of it is that the message is received and understood by the 11 you've got going out.
Actually, the last week, we made some tremendous blocks.
Yeah, we did.
So really perhaps something has been said there, because I think Hector and a couple of others really put their body on the line to stop shots on the edge of the box. And we need a bit more of that.
Well, gents, alongside our fixture, there's only 4 other League One fixtures taking place today, because it's an FA Cup weekend. Firstly, Fleetwood Town are currently taking on Derby in the early kick-off. Have you got a score up that on that, Brownie?
3-1, it's finished. To
Derby. 3-1 to Derby on that one at Highbury Stadium. And then elsewhere this afternoon, Burton Albion host Wycombe Wanderers, who recorded their first league win in 13 matches on New Year's Day. And league leaders Portsmouth travel to 23rd place Cheltenham Town. There's also a big game at the foot of the table too, as Carlisle United make the mammoth trip down to Devon to face Exeter City. What a journey. Curbs, you fancy that? Carlisle to Exeter, 347 miles, 5 hours and 43 minutes. Would they do that on the day of the game as well at this level, do you think?
Not. Absolutely not. No.
Can't risk
Especially in this weather.
Can't risk it. That's 5 hours, whatever on.
What did our boys do?
Without traffic.
What did our boys do for Port Vale? What did they do? Did they go down?
I would imagine they've gone up yesterday, but I don't know. I honestly don't
especially
know.
with this weather and floods and this and that.
I know Terry and Greg have suffered each other's company in the car on the way up today, so.
Well, hopefully they'll be back in positive spirits for the journey back down. Now we're going to move our attention onto Charlton women for a very exciting 2024. The team currently sits second in the FA Women's Championship in what will be an exciting second half of the season. Remember, only one gets promoted out of that league though, and half-season tickets are now on sale to catch all of the action, so make sure you get yours by visiting booking.cafc.co.uk for more details. A reminder too that when we play Portsmouth here at the Valley on Saturday, February the 24th, it will also be the club's annual PSA testing day. There's Curbs getting his there. The PSA test is a blood test that measures the amount of prostate-specific antigen in your blood to help diagnose prostate problems, including prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is now the third most common cancer in the UK, and early diagnosis is crucial. But symptoms do not usually appear until the prostate is large enough to affect the urethra. We'd encourage all of our male supporters over the age of 40 to come down and get tested. I'm going to try and show my face then with that in mind. And female supporters, encourage your fathers, brothers, uncles and whoever else to make sure that they get tested as well. Well, of course, we all know it. The January transfer window is well and truly open, and the Addicks have pounced twice in the last couple of days, signing Lewis Fiorini and Tyreeq Bakinson. Let's start with Lewis, who spoke to Charlton TV after signing with the club yesterday on loan from Manchester City.
Lewis, welcome to Charlton. How does it feel to be here?
Yeah, I'm buzzing. It's been a hectic 24 hours, obviously travelling down and trying to get things done, and I've started having my first training session as well, which has obviously been good. Meet all new faces and obviously new environment, new training ground, yeah, so trying to get settled as soon as possible, but buzzing to be here.
What was it about the club that made it the right move for you?
Well, I know obviously the size of the club to begin with, and obviously I've played at the Valley before in obviously previous clubs, and I know obviously how big the club is. Obviously when I was younger, the club was a Premier League club. So obviously, I know the club has aims to be back up there one day. Obviously, working with the gaffer before as well was obviously an attractive thing to me.
And you touched on it there, Michael Appleton. You've had 2 successful spells with him before. How much did you enjoy those times with him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he gave me my first games in English football at Lincoln initially, obviously at this level, and obviously he was someone who just gave me a platform to play, like be free. Obviously made me feel confident. He had put all his trust in me, which as a player, that's the main thing you want, is a manager who believes in you, trusts you, and at times when I had bad games, he'd stick by me and keep trusting me to come through it. And obviously by the end of my Lincoln loan, I was in a really good place. And then obviously he got a job at Blackpool, which obviously was a championship, and at the time was a natural progression for me. And yeah, I started the season in the championship last year really well, and then obviously picked up an injury that kind of halted my progress a bit.
And how have your conversations been with Michael ahead of this move?
To be honest, pretty straightforward, because obviously we know each other well enough now that we don't really need to say too much. It's kind of, he knows what I'm capable of and what he's going to get out of me, and obviously at the same time I know what he wants from a team, and even little things like around the dressing room, I know obviously the standards he expects, what's he like, and then obviously on the grass I know obviously how he wants his team to play and obviously what success looks like to him.
What can fans expect to see from you as a player?
Well, try and bring a lot of creativity into the team. I say I'm more attack-minded midfielder than defensive, but obviously I can pretty versatile, can play anywhere around the midfield. Yeah, I try and get goals and assists where I can, a few shots from distance. So yeah, I'm gonna give it my all.
And you've got experience at this level, above and abroad as well. How would those loan moves previously have helped you in your development, do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I was speaking to a few lads this morning about it. I do think we have quite a young group here. That's obviously what the man just said, which is obviously, some people look at that as a negative, but I think it's good. You've got players who want to develop, want to progress higher into the leagues, and obviously if, you know, a large bunch can do that with Charlton, obviously players and the club are winners then. So yeah, for my age, obviously I'm 21, I've got a lot of appearances, a lot of games, so yeah, I'm obviously confident coming into a men's team, and I know what I'm capable of doing at this level.
And you're obviously on loan here from Man City, and you've trained with Pep Guardiola's first team a number of times. How much has that helped you improve your game?
I think to be honest with you, it shows you what the top level looks like. Obviously, it kind of shows you the gap between where you are and what you want to get to. So obviously, it's a bit of an eye-opener in terms of the level, the speed of things. But at the same time, it gives you confidence in the fact that you can go over there and compete and not, you know, look miles off it in a way. Obviously, when you go over there, compete and do well, it's kind of like gives you the confidence that one day you can maybe touch them levels.
And you've been capped by Scotland at youth level. How proud does it make you to be recognised at international level? Yeah,
it's amazing. Obviously, like you say, I've been with Scotland right the way through from 16s up to 21s, and then obviously in the summer, in June, I went away with the first team for like a training camp, so I was obviously in and around them, and they're in a great spot. We've qualified for the Euros in the summer, so yeah, it's obviously a really good thing, and like I say, it makes me really proud.
And now the deal's done, what do you hope to achieve in your time here at Charlton?
For me, well, for the team, I think it's now about getting back to, well, I kept an eye on the results and getting back to that form of maybe September, October, where kind of an unbeaten run. And obviously I know in the last month it's been a bit of a sticky spell, you know, some late goals and missing a few key players, but obviously we're getting bodies into the building now, we're getting players back out of the treatment room. So I think looking at the squad, playing against some of the lads, there's real talent in here, and it's about finishing obviously strong and trying to get on the run and seeing where we can get to at the end of the day, and then personally just putting a run of games together and showing people what I can do.
And just lastly, you've got a few familiar faces here in Tyreeq Eden and Conor McGrandles. How nice was it to see them again, and how much does that help when you're settling in at a new club?
No, it's really good. It's really nice when obviously you go into a club and obviously you're always, no matter how old you are, you're going to be a bit obviously nervous walking into obviously a new dressing room, but like you say, familiar faces always help. Like I had obviously a year with Conor at Lincoln where we even played together in the midfield a lot, and obviously like you say with Teo, the window I signed for Lincoln, he left to go to Blackburn, but we had enough time together to like obviously make a good friendship, and obviously he spent time in Manchester while he was at Blackburn, so yeah, I've shown him a good few times since.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Lewis Fiorini there with his first interview as an addict. Curbs, did you like what you heard, or did you make of his first interview?
He spoke ever so well. And I think he looked as if he was happy to be here, which is nice. You know, I don't know what Michael's guaranteed him. We was just talking off air that, you know, Man City, you know, you've had Tedic who ain't played a lot of football. He's gone back and now Fiorini's come out. There must have been a conversation there a little bit in terms of, you know, is he going to play, etc. Because, you know, when you loan players out, you're not just trying to offload them and etc. You want them to go and play.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he starts. You know, in the next couple of weeks.
Brown, he's a more creative player that we understand. Michael Appleton saying he's happy to receive it on the back foot. What does that actually mean for those that are out there going, what does that mean? Creative, you know, create chances, assists.
On the back foot, I think George
that's what I'm saying to you.
George ends up getting the ball on his back.
Well, I'd be surprised if any of them can't take it on the back foot at this level. You know, you're talking about just, it's quite a simple thing. You're letting it run across yourself.
The hardest thing is taking it on the back foot and having a quick look to see
his brain's going centre half. What's he know about playing centre midfield? I play for England, sunshine. Right? No, it's quite simple. Letting the ball roll across your body, taking on the back foot, so you're looking forward, and the pitch opens up. You know, and that's what they call a playmaker. You know, he's got the ability to, in tight areas, get himself turned around quickly, see a pass quickly. We saw a couple of nice finishes there in that clip actually, where he was driving with the ball. So on the back foot, facing the goal, driving forward, lovely, position to be in terms of passing or getting the shot away. But he did speak well. I think the bonus from our perspective is Man City haven't gone. There must be a link there, because Man City haven't gone, you ain't having another one. Right, which is generally can happen when you've loaned a player and you haven't given enough game time. They go, why should we? So that's a good sign. I think the other thing is familiarity. When you know a player, that can make a difference to you as a coach, because you haven't got to get as much information in because it's already been implemented at previous clubs. So it's a case of just fitting him in, slotting him in, and making sure the other players have got an understanding of what he can bring to the team. So that should bode quite well once he does get into the side. But yeah, it makes you giggle, because you expect everyone to be able to take the ball on the back foot, don't you? Well, I do anyway.
As we're talking different languages now,
I think it is the same thing. It's something that sounds more sophisticated than it is midfielder being able to open the play up.
Receiving the ball on the back foot, but having a look where the opposition is before you receive it, that's a little bit more difficult. But I know we're talking different language, but when you loan players, certainly there's got to be a conversation that you're going to start them for the first 4 or 5 games. That's what I always did.
Yeah.
I didn't loan a player and say to the opposition club or the manager or whatever, I'm going to start him in the first 3 or 4 games. If you don't do it, then that's it. I'm going to judge him like everybody else. You can't guarantee him you're going to play him every game, but I always guaranteed I'd start 3 or 4 games, and if he does it, he stays in. If he don't, he comes out.
Okay, gents, well, that's the first of the new signings we're hearing from. And now let's move on to the second, Tyreeq Bakinson, who's coming from Sheffield Wednesday.
Tyreeq, welcome to Charlton. How pleased are you to be here?
Definitely buzzing to get it over the line. Very happy to be here. Obviously, met all the boys, know some of them already, so yeah, very happy.
You arrive here on loan from Sheffield Wednesday, having won promotion from this league last season. How much did you enjoy that experience?
Yeah, that was amazing. Obviously, I feel like it was definitely a good experience for me. Probably one of my favourites in my career so far. So definitely enjoyed it.
And you've also got plenty of championship experience. How helpful has that been in your development as a player?
Very helpful. Obviously, there's as you know, so many good players in that league. A lot of good teams, a lot of experiences in terms of crowd, stadiums, and it's definitely helped me a lot in my development till now.
And how have your conversations been with Michael Appleton so far?
They've all been very positive. Obviously, he was one of the big reasons why I wanted to come here as well. So, yeah, we've had some positive conversations, and I'm buzzing to get going.
And how would you describe Tyreeq Bakinson, the player, to Charlton fans?
I'd say I'm a dynamic midfielder. Like to get up and down, win the ball back, and hopefully get some goals as well. But yeah, we'll see which role the manager wants me to play, especially. So.
And you featured in a championship match on New Year's Day. How excited are you to get out in the Charlton shirt now?
Really excited. I can't wait to obviously show the fans what I can do. Obviously show my teammates and hopefully help the team.
And you trained with your new teammates today at Sparrows Lane for the first time. How did you find it? Yeah,
it was good. Obviously, it was a soft session today. Obviously, there's a game tomorrow. But yeah, it was definitely good to see. The sort of things that we were doing, is just get an idea of tactics and where everyone plays and things like that. So, yeah, it's definitely good.
You said you know a few of the lads here already. Is that nice when you come in to help you settle in?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, it's also nice to see some new faces as well, meet some new people. But I just think it helps with the transition if you know a couple of people in the squad already.
And finally, what are you hoping to achieve in your time here?
I think for me personally is to get as many games as possible and obviously help the team as much as possible. I think team-wise, it's just to get as many points as possible and see where we are at the end of the season.
Great to hear from Tyreeq Bakinson there in a Charlton shirt. Another new addition, Brownie. A dynamic midfielder then, so what does that mean in old school money?
Right, so think Fiorini is Klaus Jensen.
Right.
And Bakinson is what? Kinsella, Parker, Jones, Keith Jones. Yeah, it's box to box. Yeah.
These are big comparisons, though. Aren't they?
Well, if he reaches anywhere near them, a cracking signing.
Yeah. So in from Sheffield Wednesday, and the Michael Appleton quote that I saw, and it's quite interesting for both of these that have come in, it talks about kind of the physicality side. So he said about Tyreeq Bakinson, the ability to get up and down when he needs and wants to. And even for Fiorini, he said he's got a dirty side to him that he's willing to show.
He's talking legs as well, I think, that, you know, energy and whatever. He's obviously not happy with the midfield, that's for sure. Yeah. Louis Watson has not been playing recently, gets a game today. Fraser as well, Kamara, another injury that we've got. So yeah, it's incredible the amount of players that we've got out, the size of the squad. So yeah, I mean, can the club sustain that size of squad? Is there going to be a bit of movement, you know, the other way?
Yeah. Well, one that's gone back in the other direction, gents, is Boban Tedic, of course. He's returned to his parent club at Manchester City. For you, why didn't it work here for him? Did he get enough of an opportunity, do you think, Curbs?
I think he probably wants to play down the middle.
Yeah.
And once Alfie May came in, and only playing one striker, you would have thought that perhaps when Alfie was being deployed as a number 10 or in a different position, he might have got a run. But he didn't, and as Brownie said, you know, when perhaps Man City got so many players that they can just, you know, react if someone wants them. But if you have a player that don't get a lot of football, so the two loans in terms of Watson and Tedic not had a lot of football, the parent clubs may be looking at it thinking, you know, do we want to do business with them again? You know, so it was pleasing to see that they have. You know, Tedic has gone back and he's come.
Brownie, that frees up a space and hopefully some wages as well amongst the squad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that works, to be honest, in terms of if loan signings. I don't know if it's because you can do deals on loan signings. I've had deals done where the club, another South London club that I loaned a player from once, said if you start him, you pay us nothing.
Right.
But if he's benched, we want half, and if and if he doesn't get in the squad at all, we want full wages. So it forces you to almost start him. That's the plan from their perspective, because they want the player to go out and get games.
In all fairness, Wenger was the first person to do that. Right. If you loaned anyone from Arsenal, there was a loan fee. But if you played them, if you started them, then so much would come off the loan fee.
Yeah.
So it didn't force you to do it. You know, it didn't force you to play. But
did me? I only had 1,500.
No, it didn't force you to play the player. But then you suddenly get your chief executive on the back of you. If you played, but no, I thought that was a good way of doing it. Say, for instance, it's £100,000 loan fee.
Yeah.
Then £5,000 to come off every time you start the player.
Okay. So the difference in budgets we're talking.
I tell you what, the Arsenal Invincibles squad couldn't be a bad place to go and do your shopping.
Well, I don't think you've got any of them for 100 grand.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making about, I don't know how much wages get freed up, but the point being that
there's ways of doing.
It didn't really work, did it? Let's be honest.
No, but if you're a Premier League club or whatever, Championship club, and you're loaning the player, you're loaning them because you want them to play. Now, you can't force the manager to do that, but perhaps financially you can.
Well, listen, gentlemen, that's 2 through the door for Charlton now, and hopefully there'll be a few more additions across the January transfer window. With that in mind, let's hear now from our technical director, Andy Scott, who spoke to Charlton TV yesterday.
Andy, Tyreeq Bakinson and Lewis Fiorini are our first 2 January additions. How pleased are you to get both deals done so early in the window?
Yeah, we need some reinforcements quickly, which is so it's obviously great to get them through. It's a bit frustrating we couldn't get them for the game on Saturday, which we tried very, very hard. But as you just said there, it's very difficult to get players in, certainly early in January, especially 2 good players like Tyreeq and Lewis. So we're delighted that they've come in, we've got them in, and we're looking forward to them being part of the squad and improving us.
Tyreeq has 2 career promotions on his CV, including one out of this division last season with Sheffield Wednesday. What can fans expect to see from him?
Well, again, he's another player that's experienced, good age, played at a number of big clubs, Ipswich, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, so he knows what it's like to be at a big club with expectation. And like you say, the promotion last year at Sheffield Wednesday, he contributed quite heavily to that. He's a big lad. He's 6'3", defensive midfield player, breaks play up. He's got the legs to get around the pitch. It's clearly an area that we've suffered with one of our many injuries that we've got, with the amount of injuries we have in that area. So Tyreeq will certainly give us the physical presence and the height. We know we've got to improve from set plays for and against. That will also help us. But he's a good footballer. he's fit. He's been involved in Sheffield Wednesday's first team, so we hopefully he can come in and have an impact straight away.
Lewis is obviously a player that Michael Appleton knows very well. What will he bring to the team?
Yeah, Lewis has worked with Michael a couple of times, and Michael's very complimentary of his personality, his character, and obviously his ability as well. He's obviously really highly regarded at City. Had a really good spell at Lincoln, and then went to Blackpool. He's looking to get more game time. I think further up the pitch, he's more effective as an 8, and moving forward into the creative areas of the pitch. He can score goals. Set plays are good. So obviously knowing Michael and Michael knowing him, it'd be an easy transition for him, and he can fit into the way Michael plays. And again, hopefully that he's someone that can have impact. He'll probably get up to speed. He hasn't played much game time. He missed out on a loan in August because of an ankle injury. So he's been training with Manchester City. So we need to get him up to speed match wise. But he'll be a really important addition as well.
Tyreeq and Lewis both through the door now. Are we close on any other deals?
We have got a number of irons in the fire. We are working tirelessly. We have done all the way through December to try and line some signings up. Obviously, these two have come through the door quickly. We've got a number of players and clubs that we are speaking to. We've made offers to several players, and we're waiting to see whether they happen, or whether we can get them out of the clubs, and whether they're going to be available. But we're trying to be as proactive as we can. It's been a horrendous December for results. We clearly know that. I think there's been a lot of games that we've conceded late on, and the players that have come in have worked very hard, and we've got a lot of younger players. But we need to be better. We need to win games, and we need to improve the squad. But there's a lot of clubs at the moment, certainly in higher divisions than us, that are suffering from injuries, and we've got some 8 or 9 senior players, first team players, that could quite conceivably be in our starting 11 out, and that's really, really difficult to contend with. And we need to make sure we get them back fit, because they'll be like new signings as well. But we also need to improve the quality of the squad and bring in better players to get the wins that we all want. We're striving for that. We know that we haven't been good enough, and that's collectively all the way through the football club. And we need to give our fans some results. We need to give them something to look forward to, as much as we want to try and build the squad for next season as well. We know that we've got to address the situation at the moment and the injuries that we've got, and so sometimes you have to change strategy a little bit, and that's probably what we've done with Tyreeq and Lewis. But the intention is to make sure that the longer term plan for this club is that we've got a strong squad at the beginning of next season. And we can finish off this season really strongly and get out of January with a really, really positive results, and lots of options for Michael to play.
So that's transfer news rounded up, and now we move it on to news elsewhere in the club. On Wednesday, supporters can join an online fan meeting live on CharltonTV from 7 p.m. At the meeting, which will also be live on the club's YouTube channel, board members James Rodwell, Paul Elliott and Gavin Carter will explain the plans for the club moving forward, and supporters will then have the opportunity to ask questions via Zoom and WhatsApp. And it's not long until we cross over to Vale Park, in fact, and let's take a look at the teams as they line up today. We've not had a chance to talk much about Port Vale, the opposition, Brownie, but where are their threats?
Well, as already been mentioned, from midfield actually, Piazza up front is normally the focal point, and he'll hold the ball up, bring that midfield into play. But Chislett likes to break from deep. James Wilson likes to break from deep. And they did have Garrity in the side, who's a little bit deeper than those two, but was their top scorer. He's out. And they've made changes in both the wing-back positions today. And I think that's to combat pace down the sides, because they were really young in the last game. I think 16 years old left wing back, and 19 I think right wing back. So he's brought in a little bit more experience, maybe a little bit more pace, I don't know, because there's Connor Grant and Tom Sang. One can play wing back, or they can both switch positions. So the threat was through central midfield. We need to look at Chislett and Wilson breaking from deep. That's the ones we've got to stay with, those runners.
And of course, if they did their research on us, Corey Blackett-Taylor, if they stop him, then who else from our team do you think can step up?
Well, I think Campbell last week showed that he can step up. He was quite